Chapter 10.2, Factoring by Grouping. Factoring by grouping is a factoring technique that sometimes works, not all the time, sometimes works on polynomials with 4 terms when there does not exist a greatest common factor for all the terms. So, for instance, if we look at this first example, you'll see that there's x's in 3 of the terms, but not all the terms. There's coefficients for some of the terms, but not all the terms. So there's not any one thing, other than 1, which is not a terribly important factor, that goes into each of these. What we're going to do with this is we're going to factor the first terms that do have x's in common, and we're going to factor the next 2 terms that have the coefficients in common. I'm going to work with them separately. So think about that set and this set. So what is in common for both of these? X squared. Go ahead and take it out. You'll be left with x minus 3. And what's in common for these? 5 goes into both, so you end up with x minus 3. The key here, and if you've done this correctly, or you've chosen the right sets to work with, you'll have x minus 3 twice. So you can think of that as being the greatest common factor. It's going into x minus 3 is in this first, and x minus 3 is in this second. So the thing that is in common at this point is x minus 3. So you can write x minus 3 once, and what's left is x squared. What's left is the 5. That sucker and that sucker there. Now this is a tricky process for sure. So I'm going to do another example. Okay, with this one, same setup. We're going to consider this first 2 and these second 2 separately. So we have t squared in common in the first 2 terms, leaving us with t minus 5. And we will have negative 3 in common for these next 2 terms. T minus 5. Okay, now let's say you'd taken out positive 3 instead. That would have switched these signs. You would know that something was wrong because you want both of your parentheses to look exactly the same. So if it doesn't work the first time, try messing around with it a little bit. See if you can get what's inside the parentheses to look exactly the same. So minus 3, that leaves us with positive t minus 5. Now the thing that we have in common is x minus 5. So we'll write it out in front where we typically have been writing our greatest common factor. Then we have t squared and minus 3. Okay. I want you to go ahead and try this yourself. Do this independently. Consider how you can work separately. So break it into 2 pieces and then see if you can make it so they each have a parenthesis set that is in common in both and that you could rewrite it. And then in class, I've got a harder one for us to work on below. Do not do this one yourself, the group work, but do try the independent practice. I would like to see what your thoughts are, what you could try to do. Okay, thank you.